You try to save, you try to invest, you try to move forward. But somehow nothing changes. Money comes in, effort increases, yet real progress never appears. It feels like you are doing everything right, but the result stays the same. This is not. There is a pattern behind it. Most people believe the problem is income. They think if they earned more, everything would finally work. But higher income often leads to the same outcome. More money comes in, more money goes out, and nothing is built. This means the real issue is not how much you earn. The problem is what happens between earning and keeping. That small space where money either stays or disappears. Most people never pay attention to this moment. They react automatically, and that reaction repeats every single time money enters their life. This automatic reaction is the reason progress never begins. Because when behavior stays the same, results stay the same. You can change your job, your income, your opportunities, but if your actions do not change, nothing else will either. This is why trying harder does not fix the problem. Effort without direction only increases the same pattern. And over time, that pattern becomes stronger, not weaker. To understand why you never build wealth, you must look at what you repeat, not what you want. The moment money arrives is where everything is decided. Not in a dramatic way, but in a small automatic reaction. If you spend first, your future receives nothing. If you pause and decide, your future begins to exist. This difference feels small, but repeated over time, it creates completely different outcomes. Most people never pause. They act instantly, and instant action means repetition. The same pattern again and again, without change. This is why years pass without progress. Not because people are lazy, but because they are consistent in the wrong direction. The habit continues because it feels easy. Spending gives immediate satisfaction. It solves a problem now. It creates comfort now. It feels rewarding now. But everything it gives is temporary, and temporary satisfaction replaces long-term growth without you noticing it. To break this habit, you need one simple change. You must delay your reaction. Not forever, just long enough to think. This delay creates awareness, and awareness is the first step toward control. Without awareness, nothing changes. Control does not come from effort. It comes from structure. Once you decide what happens before money arrives, your behavior becomes automatic in a new way. You are no longer reacting. You are following a system you created. This is where the shift begins. Not in what you earn, but in what you do. And once your actions change, your results begin to change with them. Once you create that pause, your perspective begins to change. Money no longer feels like something that must be used immediately. It becomes something you can direct with intention. And that shift, repeated over time, begins to break the pattern that kept you in the same place for years. The next step is simple but powerful. Before you spend anything, a portion must be removed and protected. Not after your expenses, not if something is left, but first. This is how you reverse the flow that has been working against you. At first, this feels uncomfortable. It feels like you are limiting yourself. But in reality, you are creating structure. And structure is what allows growth to exist. Without it, everything remains temporary and unstable. This protected portion becomes the base of your future. It is not there to sit still. It is there to grow. And growth is what turns small, consistent actions into something meaningful over time. Most people fail here because they expect fast results. They want to see change immediately. But real progress begins quietly. It builds slowly before it becomes visible. If you stay consistent, something changes. Growth begins to build on previous growth. And what once felt small starts to expand. Now your system begins to create momentum. Each time money enters your life, the same action repeats. Nothing is left to chance. And because nothing is random, your results stop being random. They become stable, predictable, and stronger over time as every step builds on the previous one. Your money now starts to behave differently. It no longer depends only on your effort. Even small returns begin to grow on top of each other. This is the beginning of compounding. It feels slow at first, but it becomes powerful because it continues without interruption. Most people never experience this because they stop too early. They expect visible results immediately, and when they do not see them, they return to old habits. This breaks the system and resets all progress back to the starting point again. The real advantage comes from staying when nothing feels exciting. When growth is quiet and results are not obvious, that is when the system is working the most. Those who continue through this phase are the ones who move ahead over time. At this stage, your focus changes. You stop chasing fast results, you start focusing on direction, because direction, repeated over time, always creates stronger outcomes than temporary speed. Now your financial life has structure. Money enters, a portion is protected, and that portion is directed toward growth. This flow repeats without interruption and builds strength with time. As this structure continues, your confidence becomes grounded in real results. You are no longer hoping for change. You can see your system working step by step. This clarity removes doubt and replaces it with control. And control makes it easier to continue without hesitation. Your behavior begins to shift naturally. You stop spending without thinking and start choosing with intention. This does not feel forced. It feels like awareness. And this awareness reduces unnecessary loss while strengthening your ability to build over time. Compounding becomes more visible now. Growth starts building on previous growth. What once felt slow begins to accelerate. And this acceleration is not luck. It is the result of consistency applied over time without interruption. Most people never reach this stage because they interrupt the process. They chase quick results, react to no's, and lose focus. Every interruption resets momentum, and without momentum, growth never becomes powerful. You avoid this by staying focused on direction, not on speed, not on comparison, but on consistency. Because consistency always wins over time, even when it feels slow in the moment. Your system now works with less effort. What once required discipline becomes automatic. And when behavior becomes automatic, progress continues without resistance. At this point, your progress becomes visible in a way that feels real, not dramatic, but steady and undeniable. Your money is no longer disappearing without direction. It is growing. And this confirms that your system is working exactly as intended over time. This creates a new level of confidence, not based on hope, but on evidence. You trust your actions because you have seen their results, and this trust allows you to continue even when progress feels slow or uncertain in the moment. Your identity begins to change. You are no longer someone who struggles with money. You become someone who builds it, and this identity shapes your decisions without effort, aligning your behavior with long-term growth automatically. Opportunities now look different. You are not asking what you can spend. You are asking what can grow. This shift opens paths that were always there, but invisible before your mindset changed. Others may not understand this shift. They continue reacting, spending, and repeating the same patterns. Their behavior may pressure you to return to old habits, and this is where many people fall back. But if you stay consistent, your results will separate you over time. Not instantly, but clearly. And that clarity reinforces the system you have built. At this stage, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. While others continue repeating the same cycle, you are building something that grows over time. Your system works quietly, but consistently, and each decision you make strengthens the next one instead of resetting your progress again. You also begin to feel less pressure around money, not because you stopped working, but because your progress is no longer tied only to your effort. Your money contributes, your system supports you. And this removes the constant urgency that once controlled your decisions. Time now works in your favor. Instead of watching it pass, you use it to multiply your results. Every step forward adds to the last one. Every decision builds momentum, and over time, this accumulation creates something strong and stable. Momentum carries you forward. You no longer need to push as hard as before. The system moves with you. And this is where change becomes permanent, because it is supported by structure instead of effort alone. Then you realize something important. There was never a complex reason why you could not build wealth. It was always the same pattern repeating without control. And once you saw it clearly, everything began to change. You stopped reacting and started directing. And that single shift created a completely different outcome over time. Most people will never see this clearly. They will keep searching for better jobs, higher income, or faster opportunities, that they will ignore the simple behavior that controls everything. And because they ignore it, they stay in the same place, repeating the same cycle without understanding why nothing changes. You chose a different path. You focused on what happens every time money enters your life. You understood that repetition creates direction, and direction creates outcomes. This gave you control over your progress, even when everything else felt uncertain. From here, your results become predictable, not because you know every outcome, but because your system is stable. It does not depend on luck or perfect timing. It depends on consistency, and consistency creates results over time. There will still be moments when progress feels slow, moments when nothing seems to change. But those moments do not stop you anymore, because you understand that growth builds quietly before it becomes visible. Looking back, the change feels simple. Just one shift in how you act when money enters your life. But that shift created a completely different path. A path where money grows instead of disappearing without direction. This is the truth most people ignore. You do not fail to build wealth because you lack knowledge. You fail because of what you repeat. Change the pattern, and you change everything.